In the dry and mysterious deserts of the arid American Southwest, death is never far down the road. Thirst, starvation, driving heat that never seems to stop. Wild animals like coyotes and wildcats everywhere in the region is peril and menace. But is it, to make matters worse, also a place of supernatural peril and menace? In the states of Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah, the native Navajo tribes have long told stories, going back thousands of years into the mists of their early history, of cruel and sinister monstrosities that roamed the wild places. The legendary Skinwalker, taking the form of fearsome and terrifying beasts that haunt secluded places, waiting for their victims. But wait, there's a lot of misinformation out there about skinwalkers. Too much creepypasta and fan fiction has muddied the waters of what's really true about the skinwalker and what isn't, according to the Navajo themselves. So we're going to source from only 2 books, verified authentic by generations of academics. For one, the respected author Clyde Cluckhohn wrote Navajo Witchcraft in 1944. An anthropologist, he conducted extensive fieldwork among the Navajo people of New Mexico themselves during the early 1940s. Although already modern times of progress, when New Mexico was already a hotspot for secret military bases, most famously the Manhattan Project, the Navajo reservations were still largely untouched by external influences prior to World War II. So, the knowledge he gleaned can be thought of as pure representation of the folklore. He worked closely with Navajo community elders and spiritual leaders to document and understand Navajo beliefs, practices, and cultural traditions related to witchcraft and other aspects of their spiritual life. As Cluckhohn himself noted in his book, it can be hard to learn the real goods about these creatures, as they are a taboo subject even among the Navajo themselves. Even to speak of them is thought to invite their evil attentions. Cluckhohn was only able to learn about them due to many years of visiting the real Navajo tribes back in the day and gaining their complete trust. Similarly, another book called Some Kind of Power by Margaret Brady was a collection of stories told by children to their teacher during a spooky story hour session in the 1970s. Hoping to contribute something truly spine-chilling to the creepy hour, these young storytellers specifically made it clear to the teacher that these were secret family stories and so weren't normally revealed. And so, using these sources to tease the factual from fictional folklore, we can say with certainty that in Navajo tradition, skinwalkers are feared beings believed to possess powerful supernatural abilities gained through dark acts. According to Navajo beliefs, individuals become skinwalkers by breaking cultural taboos, such as committing acts of atrocity or other great violations against the norms and taboos of society, which enable them to transform into animals at will. The Navajo word for skinwalker, in fact, Yi-na-lushi, means with it he goes on all fours. These beings are often described as assuming the forms of coyotes, wolves, foxes, or other creatures of the night, allowing them to move swiftly and unseen through the darkness. They are believed to be able to control the animals of the forest and even to raise the dead in order to use them for their sinister ends. Encounters with skinwalkers are said to evoke feelings of fear and unease among those who witness them. They are known for their evil intentions, using their shape-shifting abilities to bring harm upon others. The old stories recount instances where skinwalkers lurk on the outskirts of Navajo communities, emitting eerie cries or taking on the form of animals to spy on unsuspecting victims. An ever-present peril just outside the warm safety of the bonfires. Protective measures against skinwalkers are integral to Navajo ceremonial practices. Medicine men and spiritual leaders employ rituals involving sacred herbs, chants, and prayers to ward off these malevolent entities. These rituals serve not only to protect individuals, but also to restore spiritual balance within the community, emphasizing the Navajo belief in the interconnectedness of the natural and supernatural worlds. The skinwalkers were considered humans by the Navajo and not mere monsters. However, their violation and betrayal of their society, and hence of humanity, by willingly breaking the laws and the trust of that society, together with their conscious decision to merge with an animal, causes them to lose their humanity, making them more like feral, cruel, and savage animals than human beings. To the Navajo, these were tragic humans, witches who chose to give up their human decency. As a result, it was not taboo to kill a skinwalker, as they were considered to have voluntarily abandoned all their human rights. It was taboo, however, for normal Navajo to own any predatory animal's pelt, as it was the skinwalker who usually wore such pelts, which helped them to transform more easily, it can be assumed, into their predatory animal of choice. This is the authentic legend, held up by maybe thousands of years of cultural evidence. But is this still only a legend? Well, let's hear a few of the authentic tales kept secret by generations of Navajo and not even revealed to Cluckone. From the mouths of babes, let's hear some of the secret stories of the skinwalkers, revealed in candid moments during Creepy Story Hour. The author of the book, Some Kind of Power, heard many stories from children and, using analytical methods, identified 4 as retellings of traditional Navajo legend and true testimony, as opposed to the fiction of children. She chose these 4 as the most likely to be true. Let's have a look at them for ourselves. Just a heads up though, these are the authentic testimonies of the Navajo concerning the truly nasty stuff these thoroughly evil creatures get up to, according to real life, and so don't expect them to be pretty. A lot of them get pretty evil, so the more sensitive among you might want to stop listening here. Okay, that said, the first one was told by John Begay, age 11. Once, there was a family with 2 sisters, an older and a younger, a little brother and their parents. One Friday, the parents took the baby to a ceremonial women's dance, promising to return by Saturday. That night, as the siblings prepared for bed, they noticed a strange light approaching from the window. The older sister recognized it as the ominous sign of the Yi-na-lushi, the wolf-like skinwalkers. In Navajo, she quickly instructed her younger sister to fetch the fastest horse and water it generously. The little girl dashed out to the barn, fed the horse plenty of hay and water, and prepared for a quick escape. Meanwhile, the skinwalkers arrived, circling the house ominously. They broke in, and the older sister hid under the bed. However, they found her, and sadly, she became a victim of the skinwalker. Outside, the younger sister mounted the horse, but it spooked at some bushes, sensing danger. She whipped the horse, urging it to gallop as fast as it could. 3 skinwalkers leapt from the bushes and chased her, but she managed to escape. The frustrated skinwalkers eventually gave up and retreated. The next day, the father, along with some armed men, and the little girl tracked the skinwalkers' trail. They followed it to a stream, over a mountain, and into a secluded valley. There they discovered a hugen, a kind of traditional Navajo wigwam, hidden in a canyon. Knocking on the door, they were met by an old woman sitting in a chair. Speaking in Navajo, the father demanded to know his daughter's whereabouts. The old woman feigned ignorance, but the father, in his desperation and anger, threatened her life. The father had a feeling he was dealing with a skinwalker and not a mere human woman. When she insisted she knew nothing, he emptied his weapon into her. While searching the Hugin, a man found a hidden crack under the stove. They opened it and discovered the 3 sleeping skinwalkers with the heads of its victims. Sadly, this included their victim of last night. The men set up a trap with dynamite, planning to detonate as the skinwalkers emerged. Unaware of the danger, the skinwalkers stepped out of the Hugin. The trap was triggered, and an explosion erupted as one of them stepped on the device. The nightmare ended there, with the skinwalkers defeated. This story was purported true by the Navajo boy, and as a tale told for many years as true by his people. The second tale was told by Angela McCarty, age 10. Once there were 2 boys. One of them lived out in the boonies with his mom, dad, sister, and baby brother, while the other boy was his cousin. The parents and sister had gone to the trading post, a journey that will take about a week. The boy stayed home to take care of his baby brother. His cousin came over to keep him company until the family returned. One night, as they were adding more wood to the fire, the baby began to cry uncontrollably. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't calm him. Suddenly, they heard a knock at the door. The boy told his cousin to answer it while he tried to soothe the baby. "Who is it?" the cousin called out, but there was no reply. He asked again, "Who is it?" This time, they heard a low growl. Terrified, the cousin ran to lock the door. The boy quickly devised a plan. "I'll go out the back door and hide on the roof. You leave the baby on the bed and hide under it," he instructed. They followed this plan, leaving the baby on the bed while the cousin hid underneath. The doorknob rattled and finally broke as something forced its way inside. The intruder, a menacing figure, searched the house and found the baby. The cousin remained hidden under the bed, too scared to move, while the other boy watched from the roof. The next day, Saturday, the parents returned to a horrifying scene. Enraged and grief-stricken, the father gathered a group of men to track down the culprit. They followed the skinwalker's trail that led them to a small cave. Inside, an old man and woman lived. "Can we search your house?" the father demanded. The old woman reluctantly agreed. As they searched, one of the men uncovered a hidden area beneath the trapdoor. Inside, they found the severed heads of its many victims. In another room, they heard the old couple arguing with a medicine man. The father stormed in with a shotgun and dispatched the medicine man. The wolf-like skinwalker fled upstairs, and the old woman attempted to escape. "The medicine man is finished," the father declared. "I'm arresting you when we get out of here," he told the old woman. But she vanished into the wilderness. To this day, it is said that the old woman might come to your house. Next story. I know a story someone told me about an incident near Ganado. There was a boy whose parents had to go to the trading post. They left him in charge of another boy. The parents told him they would be back in about a week. The 2 boys went back inside the house after seeing the parents off, and then went outside to play. As they lay on the ground, they heard something running around outside. They looked out and saw, or rather heard, something fall off the porch. Frightened, they went back inside. They were lying in bed when they heard something on the roof. Scared and unsure of what to do, one of the boys covered himself with the blankets. There was a knock at the door, but it eventually stopped. One of the boys peeked out the window and saw a hairy creature running around. He realized it was the Navajo Wolfman and became even more terrified. Wanting to hide, he climbed up to the roof and lay down there. Meanwhile, the Wolfman came back to the house and knocked again. The younger boy hid under the bed, paralyzed with fear. The Wolfman eventually broke in, taking everything it found. Tragically, the creature discovered the boy hiding under the bed. The next morning, the boy who had been on the roof climbed down and found the gruesome scene. Everything in the house was gone, and his father's, or rather his friend's, lifeless body lay there. He stayed on the roof until his parents returned. When his father arrived and saw what had happened, he called some men to help track down the Skinwalker. They followed the footprints, which led them to a cave. Inside, they found an old medicine man, sitting and singing creepily. The men who accompanied the father got scared by this and ran back, but the father, filled with rage and grief, confronted the medicine man. Despite the medicine man's pleas, the father got rid of him. As the medicine man breathed his last, claws and masses of hair emerged from his body, revealing his true and beastly nature. Terrified, the father fled. Later they tried to follow the tracks, but he never found the creature. To this day, it is still said that the Wolfman roams between Ganado and Widow Rock. Our fourth tale is a little different, and with a little bit more of a happy ending. It was told by Michael Yazzie, age 10. One day, this Navajo girl was walking through the woods. People had told her not to travel in the woods, as there are wolfmen. In Navajo, you call them Yi-Nallushi. But she was kind of a headstrong girl, and she didn't care. She didn't know if the tales of the Skinwalkers were true, but she didn't care. When they warned her of the creatures, she basically just said, "That's okay with me," and she just went. As you might guess, it didn't end well for her. During her walk in the woods, she saw the sinister form of a Skinwalker stalking her through the trees. The thing went right up to the defenseless girl and said, "Don't say a word, or I'll put an end to you. Go get some wood for a fire. I'm going to cook you." Shocked, she was silent. "Get some wood," he ordered again, menacingly. Having no choice in the matter, really, she went to get some firewood. While doing so, she saw this Creotra. In Navajo, they call it Che Grandfather, otherwise known as the horned toad. This forest-dwelling amphibian often helps the Navajo in a tight spot, considered to be a powerful spirit animal. The toad hissed at the girl to get her attention. Only after 4 hisses did she realize he was trying to talk to her. After getting her attention, he told her, "Put my hat on. Then that wolf will be scared of you. He'll run off." With nothing to lose at this point, the girl agreed. As soon as the werewolf noticed she was wearing the hat, he screamed and raged, "No! No! Don't come too close to me! No! Don't come too close to me!" He ran from the girl in a panic and fell off the edge of a steep cliff onto the rocks below. After this, the girl politely returned the hat to the horned toad. Horned toad hats, good to know. I'll keep that in mind if I ever find myself in the sights of a Skinwalker werewolf. No, seriously, I'm totally looking for the horned toad hat. Pronto. And so, anyways, there you have it. The authentic folklore teased out from the sea of misinformation and artistic license that, unfortunately, fogs the lens of true Skinwalker folklore. You've heard the 4 secret tales acquired only in the most close and privileged environments. It's true, 3 out of the 4 most credible tales sound very similar, don't they? But is this because they are variants of the same tale? Or is it because this is the modus operandi of the Skinwalker? It was said that Skinwalkers made their pacts with evil spirits by committing horrible acts against society. These tales certainly fit the bill. So, the similarity might just be due to the fact that this is exactly the kind of wickedness Skinwalkers like to do in their spare time, rarely deviating, it seems, from their usual wicked ways and patterns of atrocity. So, what do you think? You've heard what the Navajo believe, the accounts they gave and passed down to their children as fact. Do you believe them? The Navajo lived in New Mexico for maybe 1,000 years before America was even an idea. Is it really fair for us to come along and tell them they're just imagining things? That they've been imagining things for thousands of years? Maybe not. But in any case, if you're ever passing through reserved land one lonesome evening, and you catch sight of something menacing just out of the corner of your eye. You just might end up taking the whole thing a little bit more seriously. I know I would. Well, that just about wraps up tonight's tale from Lorehound. Join us as we sniff out more of history's most interesting stories.
As the hound dog entered the dimly lit library, he sensed an aura of mystery surrounding the ancient scrolls. The dusty shelves towered above him as he sniffed his way through the labyrinth of books. Suddenly, he picked up a scent and followed it to a secluded corner. With bated breath, he approached the shelf and pawed at the book, revealing the hidden scroll. As he rolled it out, he knew he had discovered a treasure worth protecting at all costs.